Shalom Kavrin, good evening. Welcome to this week's Torah portion. I hope you'll have had a very blessed week. Special wishes to anyone who's had their anniversaries and birthdays. I don't know, I don't have a record of them. But God bless each one of you all. God take you all to better heights in knowing Him, in understanding His role and His plan for your lives. But nevertheless, we're gathered here today because it's a wonderful time to spend in His presence, to learn from Him, to give Him all the glory, to give Him all the thanks for our lives which are in His hands. Evening, morning, and afternoon, each day. And maybe we be reminded that our life needs to be Korban Khai, a living sacrifice at all times. And each time we meet, for every Shabbat, for every Friday evening, and we spend time with Him and we learn at His footstool. I just hope that every one of us go home, go to our families, are blessed. For the centrality of our faith is the home. It's not a congregational gathering, it's not the synagogue, it's not the church, it's not anything else. It's the home where the Shekinah glory of God dwells, rests, because it's the home where we live 24 hours. Most mitzvot got to do with the home. And the home is a place where we need to separate and sanctify. We need to keep ourselves bound to the home, keep rules, regulations, keep a sanctity in our homes within those who are living there, children, parents, siblings. And why is this important? This is important because everything starts from the home. Today I want to talk to you all about this Torah portion called Parashat Bo that comes in Sefer Shemot, which starts from the 10th chapter onwards, 10 to chapter 13, Perek Yud. And it comes on the heels of last week's Vaira. In Vaira, we learned something different, and we learned how God is dealing with Paro. On one hand, He's making Paro obstinate. He's giving Paro this tremendous choice to make. He's not taking away his free will, right? What we studied last time, but he's reinforcing him with free will, and Paro is having a real tough time because not only is he making him cruelly hard in his heart, saying, no, don't let these people go, okay? But yet at the same time, he's strengthening his resolve for Paro to keep his vision, right? Okay, he's breaking him on one side because everything that's hard needs to be broken, so God is breaking him. But on the other side, he is strengthening his resolve, and Paro says, I have a vision and I want to strengthen that. So that's where God is strengthening him in his vision. And we've seen last time how, all this is very pertinent to our life too. We have a vision, whether it's appropriate in the kingdom of God or not appropriate. That's for each one of us or for God to understand. But when God is testing us and taking us out of this, He's going to strengthen that vision. He's going to give us that choice, like Paro, and say, you're going to be and experience what Paro is going through. Okay, we need to overcome these things. That's what we studied in Parashat Vayera. Nevertheless, 7 of the plagues are finished in Parashat Vayera. 3 are complete in Parashat Bo, because this is the nail that cuts through everything. And in Parashat Bo is the final exodus or the extraction from Egypt. If you read what are the 3 incidents or the miracles that God does, one is the locust, the other is the darkness, and third is the slaying of the firstborn, right? Darkness, we all read that there was a tremendous amount of darkness and each man could not see each other. No, it does not say that darkness descended in the land and everything was dark. His men could not see men. So that's something to take note of. Okay. Whereas in the place where the Israelis lived, the Jewish people lived, there was light, there was enough light, and they could see each other. If there was only darkness, couldn't they have lit a lamp? Couldn't they have lit a candle? Couldn't they have made a bonfire to at least see what's happening around, right? So the Torah doesn't talk about that. So that means it's saying something on a much different metaphysical level as to what this darkness is all about. Anyway, but that's not what I'm going to touch on today. I'm going to touch on something different, which is extremely important in this portion. Now, if you all have your Bibles, please turn with me to chapter 10 of the book of Exodus, Sefer Shemot. Okay? And in this chapter it says, verse 1, Pasuk Aleph, it says, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe Bo el Paro ki ani hi chavdati et libo ve'et lev avdav lemaan shtai utoti ele becharbo. And the Lord said to Moses, Bo, come. Now we've got the song intention. Probably, I don't know what the translation is in the KJV or the Bibles. Can someone just check what is the translation in the English Bible? Does anyone have a translation of it? Nana, can you read verse 1?
Yes. Yes, Mother. And the Lord said unto Moses, Go in unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and the heart of his servants, that I might show thee my signs before him.
Okay. What's the difference between what I read and what you all read? I'll read it again. The Lord said to Moses, come to Pharaoh, for I have made his heart and the heart of his servant stubborn, so that I shall place the signs of mine in his midst. What's the difference? The English translation says, go. The Hebrew word is come. I don't know why these people have made all these real errors. Whether it's deliberate or not, I don't know. I'm known to judge, but it's not very appropriate. The word bo, bet aleph, means to come. So God is telling Moshe and Aaron, come. Let us go into Paro and reason with him. It just makes a big difference, actually. A tremendous amount of difference. When God is saying, come, where is God? Or where is his presence? Is his presence in heaven or somewhere else, and he's telling Aaron and Moshe, go? No. Let me remind you, when God descended on Mount Sinai and Horeb in that burning bush before Moses, what did he tell Moshe? He says, Moshe, I have descended for this one reason, so that I can bring out my people out from Egypt. God is very much with them. And in fact, when God infused the hay of his name into Abraham subsequently through the covenant of Brit Milah, through the covenant of circumcision, every child that's born to Abraham and his descendants have that spark of that hay inside of them. Besides being a human being like you and me, the Jewish people are like you and me, but they have the merit of the Brit Milah, the circumcision, through the covenant of putting that hay, of the hay of God's, his name into each one of them. So God is heavily invested in the children of Israel. In other words, what I'm trying to tell you is that with the children of Israel in bondage and in slavery and in Mitzrayim, God is also feeling that pinch with them. He is going through that same pain, what they are going through. So he tells Moses, it's time to leave. It's time to come. Let's go and talk to Pharaoh. In other words, God is with them. Even in the Galut, even in Mitzrayim. Otherwise, you could say, Hosea, go. It doesn't use the word Hotse, it says come. It uses the word bo. Come, let us go and talk to Paro. In fact, the entire thing, he always says, come, let's go and talk to Paro. Okay. So this is the setting of this Parsha Bo. That's why it's named Parsha Bo. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe Bo el Paro ki ani chavati et libo ve'et lev avtav le'man shtai otati eli becharbo uleman tasaper be'azani benecha uben benecha et asher התעללתי במצרים ואל אותתי אשר שמתי בם וידעתם ואני אדוני. So that you may relate in the years of your son and your son's son that I have abused myself in Egypt and my signs that I placed among them, that you may know that I am Hashem. And then we go on to read that God says, now I have finished with the 7, the last 3 are left. Okay, the locust, the darkness, and there's one more thing that I'm going to do. And when that happens, I'm going to take you out with a heavy hand. Okay, and then Moses and then Paro is still going to harden his heart. Okay, he's broken as a person. The kavdav lev, the heaviness of the heart is going to be broken. He's going to let you go, but I've strengthened his resolve, his vision to not let you go. Okay, but I'm going to take you out with a heavy hand. Okay, and they're still negotiating, and then Paro drives away Moses and Aaron from his presence. And then Paro calls them back and he says, okay, with the locusts, he says, I've sinned against you and your God. Okay, what is it that you want to do? Why don't you go? A contingent goes, all of you don't go. He's still holding on, right? Grasping to straws over there. And then the darkness falls. And I'm just relating this entire Torah portion, right? And then after the darkness, God tells Moses that, and so said the Lord, at midnight, I shall go out in the midst of Egypt. Every firstborn in the land of Egypt shall die. From the firstborn of Paro, who sits on his throne, to the firstborn of the slave woman who's behind the millstone, and all the firstborn of the animal. There shall be a great outcry in the entire land of Egypt, such as there has never been, and such that shall never ever be again. Now let me tell you one thing. That Pesach, which happened that night, 3,500 years ago, is a one-time incident that never happened again. It cannot happen again. Every year when the children of Israel celebrate the Pesach or the Passover, it's only a commemoration, it's only a remembrance that day. But that Pesach cannot be repeated ever. Therefore, God says it's going to be a night like no other. Ulaila Hazeh. There'll be never a night like this. So keep this in mind. We have a wrong understanding that every year is the Passover. It's not so. Okay, that Passover is unique, can never happen again. But against all the children of Israel, a dog will not sharpen its tongue against a man or animal, so that you shall know that the Lord will distinguish between Egypt and Israel. Then all these slaves of yours will come unto me and bow to me, saying, leave you and the entire people at your feet. And after that, I will go forth. And he went forth from Paro's presence in burning anger. The Lord said to Moses, Paro will not heed you in order to increase my wonders in the land of Egypt. So Moses and Aaron performed all these wonders before Paro. But the Lord strengthened. Now he's using a different word. He's not saying kavdav lev. He's not saying because he's broken his heart. He's saying, I am going to strengthen the heart of Paro. And the word out here is chazak. Why chazak Adonai et lev Paro. Okay, 2 different concepts altogether. So he's here, as a person, he's broken now. He's confused, he's broken because he's lost Egypt to everything, but he's strengthening his resolve. He says, I will rebuild Egypt again, no matter what. Right? And he did not send out the children of Israel from Zion. Then he instructs Moses and Aaron, verse 2 in chapter 12. He says, this month shall be for you the beginning of months. It shall be for you the first of the months of the year. HaKodesh Hadze Lachem Rosh HaKadashim Rishon Hu Lachem La Kadashe Hashana. Very interesting. What is this word Kadosh? Holy. Comes from the word Kadash, to renew. Now, in the biblical Hebrew concept, there is no concept of new. There is nothing new that you see around you. What do you mean by something new? Everything in this world that we do is a refurbishment of something else. I cannot create new matter. I can take raw material and morph it and refurbish it into something else. It will be, it will look new for a period of time, it's going to become old. And I can break that down into something else with it. So everything in this physical creation is a refurbishment, is a renewal of all matter, time, and creation. Simple as that. So even the concept of a new month, it comes to be that the word Kadash means the month has renewed itself. The moon has renewed itself. Time is cyclical in the Bible, it's not linear. Okay, so it says, this renewal of this month shall be for you the beginning of the months. It shall be for you the first of the months of the year, because this month will be the spring month where you will start counting the agricultural calendar and the calendar for kings and chronicalization of your people. Everything that's been chronicled in the Bible in biblical terms and eras and times and dates start from the month of Nisan or during the spring festival, right? The month of Nisan. Therefore, it's called one of the 4 New Years of the biblical calendar. The other New Years are the first of the 6th month, okay, and which is the New Year for the animals. Why is the New Year on animals? Because all the animals that had to be offered up in the temple had to be a year and younger. So therefore, they had to fix a time and a date during the course of the year, saying, okay, from this date onwards, the animals till next year have to be within 1 year so they can be an offering. Therefore, they said, they connoted that day, the first of the 6th month, the month of Elul, saying, okay, this will be the year for the animals and for the animal sacrifice. The 3rd New Year will be first of the 7th month, first of Tishrei, which is also the birth anniversary of the world. It is said, it is commented by the sages that Adam and Eve was created on that day, and we call it Rosh Hashanah, we call it Day of Judgment, Yom Teruah, Yom Zikaron, whole lot of words. Okay, that's the 3rd New Year. The 4th New Year is Tu Bishvat, which is coming in the month of Feb this year. On the 5th of Feb, 5th or 6th of Feb, which is New Year for the trees and for the fruits. Because even those Bichorim had to be taken an offering. Okay, because in the former rain, when the rain hits sometime around September, October, November in Israel, once the rain hits the ground, the trees develop nutrition and sap. And the sap starts rising up the trunk of the trees and it starts pouring out into the fruit and fruit grows. So the date of when the sap hits the fruit, it's around the 15th of the month of Shvat, the 10th month. And this 15th of Shvat is called Tu Bishvat. It's a very, very important day in Israel. And what do the children of Israel do during this day? They go and they plant trees. Okay, they go and plant trees because tree signifies a human being also. So as an act of kindness, they go and plant trees because they celebrate Tu Bishvat because of the fruits that a tree can bring. Anyway, so that's the 4th New Year. And then God says, He instructs them. Verse 3 says, the ber el kol edat Israel lemor. Speak to all the edat. Now, please make a note of this. God is not telling Moshe, speak to the whole people of Israel. He says, kol edat. The word ain, dalet, taf, edat comes in the word edut, testimony. That means the people that Moses and Aaron gathered to give them these instructions were a body that was removed from the populace and instructed about these things that Moses and Aaron could do. And these are the people who had a testimony, who held the word of the testimony of the God in their heart and their mind. So you can call them Edat, you can call them Kehillah, you can call them a choice body, a separated body of people among the children of Israel. He's not speaking to the whole of Israel. He's speaking to this body called Edat. Daber el kol Edat Israel le'amor be'asar lachodesh hadze vaychu lahem ish se. Please make a note of this. I'll explain to you why. This verse is very superfluous. In the 10th of the month, be'asar lachodesh hadze, in the 10th of this month that is renewed. La Kodesh Be'eser. The word Eser is 10 in Hebrew, if you'll know the numericals. Be'eser La Kodesh Hadze Vaychu Lachem, and you shall take for yourselves. Vaychak is take, but there is an extra vav with a dot, dagesh in between. Vaychu. And if I have to break up that word, now those who are studying the Hebrew will understand what I'm saying. Vaychak and who, two different words, have been abbreviated and it's written as Vaychu, because the full form is Vaychak hu, and you shall take him. You shall take him, okay, and it's abbreviated to Vaychu, and it says, for yourselves, lahem, ish se. Ish is man. You will take him, the man, say. Now, say in Ivrit, in Hebrew, is a yearling. It can be a yearling from the sheep, and it can be a yearling from the goats. So it does not make a difference. But why is the Torah telling us, you shall take him for yourselves, the man say? Now you will not know this in the Hebrew, in the English, because the English says you will take, in this month you will take for yourselves each man a lamb for his home, right? That's what it says in the KJV and the English translation. But the word ish is very superfluous there. It's, in other words, it's just redundant. It's unnecessary. It could have just said you should take a say. But by using the word ish, which is man or male, it's indicating something. That means it's saying that it's not only about a yearling sheep or a goat, but it's pointing that the man is important out here. Very, very important. You will take this man, you will allow this man to do this in each and every home. For his home, for his father's home, and for his home. But if the household is too small for Lamech, then he and his neighbor who is near his house shall take, according to the number of his people, everyone in proportion to his eating, and you shall be counted for the land of the kid. Okay, so this is something I will do when we complete Pesach, but I just want to tell you that this verse talks about the centrality of a man say, either a goat or a sheep. A perfect lamb, kid, a male within its first year, shall it be for you, from the sheep or from the goat, you shall take it. So my question is now that if I look at Passover, if I look at Pesach, And I take the Pesach in a setting to our Good Friday, what we do, and we say, okay, the Lamb of God that takes away the sin of this world. Why do I always picture, if I'm making the correlation between the two, why do I say lamb? Why can't it be a goat? Because what the Torah says, it can be from a lamb, or it can be a goat. Very simple. But now let me explain to you. Do you know this is the Torah portion that is so critical for us to understand? Because when it talks about this night, when this Passover lamb, kid, goat, one yearling of either sheep or a goat was slaughtered that night in each and every house, it never says that this is a sin sacrifice. Read it. A sin sacrifice is not mentioned out here at all. It shall be unto you for your safekeeping until the 14th of the month. The entire congregation of the assembly of Israel shall slaughter it in the afternoon at around 3-4 o'clock during the time of Mincha. They shall take some of its blood and place it on the 2 doorposts of the lintel upon the houses in which they shall eat. They shall eat. Mute, please. They shall eat the flesh on that night, roasted over the fire. The matzot with bitter herbs shall eat it. Do not eat of it underdone or cooked in water, but only roasted by fire. Its head with its legs, with its inwards. You shall not leave any of it until the morning. That which is left of it until the morning shall burn in the fire. This is why this is a unique event that has happened in the history of humankind, especially Jewish people. This night will never ever happen again. Every night after that is a zikaron, it's a remembrance, it's a commemoration of this night. Anyway, let's move ahead. And the reason that you shall eat it with your loins girded, your shoes upon your feet, your staff in your hand, you shall eat it in haste. It is the Pesach offering to the Lord. Pesach hu la Adonai. It does not say this is a sin sacrifice. Please make a note of this. It's very, very important. Now, why does it say it does not say it's a sin sacrifice? Because Pesach is not meant to be a sin sacrifice. Pesach, the Passover, is a provision of grace for God, by God, for his people, that he provided for them because God brought them out of Mitzrayim. And the ability, the capability, the providence of Pesach was the ability for it to absorb all the tumah and the impurities of the Jewish people that night. So we're looking at a reverse action. A man does a sacrifice, a sin sacrifice, and ask God for forgiveness, but that's not Pesach. Pesach is God in his providence is providing something to absorb and to take away the impurities of them, take them by the hand, bring them out to Har Sinai, give them the Torah and make him his people. It's the reverse of our mind. But now, when I'm reading the New Testament, it's giving me the opposite angle altogether, saying that, he was a sacrifice, he took our sins, So what is happening? Why is this dichotomy of these concepts happening between the two? And this is where I think, people have gone really anti-Paul in this, because Paul has brought out a different angle to this. He's trying to explain to you from the Jewish concept, okay? But it's misunderstood from our mind, which is thinking of a sacrifice, okay? Because if you think from the human point of view, the Torah says, you cannot sacrifice another human being. It's not possible. Torah doesn't allow you to do that. So you have to get it out of the system. It is God's providence that He has provided that say to remove you from the condition that you're in. God is doing everything. You are doing nothing. That's all I want to tell everybody. Okay, this is the concept of Pesach. So this is what He done. He gave them the Pesach offering. He said, do it. You will come out of Egypt, take you out, bring you to Har Sinai. And then verse 14, he says, this day shall be for you for a remembrance, and you shall celebrate it as a festival of the Lord for your generations. You shall celebrate it as an eternal chukat. V'haya hayom hadze lachem lazikaron v'hagotam. V'hagotam otho chag. Le'odonai le'dorotchem chukat olam te chaghahu. And you will celebrate this as a chag for all times. Then he tells them for a 7-day period, you shall eat matzot on Pesach. Don't miss Pesach because we're going to explain all this, the technicalities of the Pesach. I'm just running through it because it's in this Torah portion. Okay, fine. Then you all know, right? Verse 21 says, Moses called all the elders of Israel and said to them, draw forth and take for yourselves one of the flock of your families, for your families, and slaughter the Pesach offering. You shall take a bundle of hyssop. You'll know all this stuff, right? You'll have read all this before. Verse 23. Ve'avar Adonai li nagof et Mitzrayim ve'raha et Hadam al mashkof ve'el shtai ha mitzvot u'pesak Adonai el ha patak ve'lo yiten ha mashkit lavo et benechem lanugef. Keep this word mashkit in your mind, the destroyer. The Lord will pass through to smite Egypt, and He will see the blood that is upon the lintel and the doorpost, and the Lord will skip over, He will skip over the entrance, and He will not permit the destroyer. The word destroyer is the word mashkit. Now, very interesting. The word destroyer in Hebrew is the word mashkit, which is the same word as mashak. What is mashak? Anointed. From where you get the word Mashiach. It's the same word. The word destroyer and mashkit and Mashiach, same word altogether. Very interesting. So what is the Torah saying? That the destroyer may be an angel, maybe it be somebody else, or maybe somebody that God has sent as someone, the reaper of souls, if you want to say, or whatever that entity was that came that night and slaughtered everybody, all the firstborn of Egypt. But that person was called the Mashkit, which comes from the word Mashak, which is anointed. So God says, I will walk in Mitzrayim that night. I will walk within Mitzrayim. And in other words, God Himself became the Mashkit. God Himself became the destroyer. This is what the Torah is indicating. And He will not permit the destroyer to enter your homes to smite. You shall observe this matter as a decree for yourself and for your children forever. Why? Because it is when your children shall say to you, what is the service to you? On the computer. Say to you, you shall say, it is Pesach, feast offering to the Lord, who skipped over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt when He smote the Egyptians, but He saved our household. So that night was the night where they were completely on the, what the sages would say from a sword level, that there were 50 levels of impurity in Egypt, 49 in fact. If that night they could not leave Egypt, their souls would have been in a dire spiritual tuma. So before they reach that 50th level of impurity, God had to take them out that day. That was the last night for all of them. That's why God says you will stand with your loins girded and you will eat the Pesach standing, because you have no time to waste. It's the last moment of your existence. Get out, eat it fast and get out. And as soon as the sun comes up, you will leave and go. So they come out, they go to the other Egyptians, and the other Egyptians offer them gold and silver, and they take all the wealth of Egypt and they come out. And then they come to Har Sinai, right? And you'll know what happened then after that. And then they journeyed from Ramesses to Sukkot, about 600 on foot, the men aside from the children. And also a great contingent went up with them, and flock and cattle very much. So there was 0.6 million of men with their wives, maybe 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 wives, we don't know. Okay. And their children, maybe 5 children or 10 children or 20 children. They were multiplying, right? A huge amount. So if you actually do a calculation, if there's only 600 men and take even probably 2 or 3 wives per person, so you can do the math and the calculation, how many of them actually came out. Plus, it says, Vegam Erev Rav. There was this Erev Rav, a mixed multitude that came out to them. Erev Rav, a great multitude that were Egyptians themselves who came out with the children of Israel. Why did they come out? One, because they see Egypt is finished. There is no economy left. We have no future out here. There's going to be starvation. The plagues have destroyed. What do we do? Let's go. This God is promising everything, a wonderful, fantastic land. Let's go with them. There is no more Egypt. It's over with. So they came out because they seen that the grass is green on the other side. So they came out physically, but did they really come out of Egypt? That's a different thing altogether. Please keep this in mind. So this Erev Rav is called a mixed multitude, and it has been a thorn in the side of Israel even till today. Even till today. Anyway, so it was at the end of 430 years on this very day that all the Zavaim, all the legions of the Lord left the land of Egypt. 430 years till this very day. What is it referring to? It's referring to the day when Abraham cut those animals and went into deep sleep, and a fire of the Lord passed through, and he made a covenant with them, and he told Abraham that your descendants are going to go into Egypt and they will be in slavery for 400 years. From that day till this day, Pesach, 430 years. In other words, that day, when that happened with Abraham, that also was a pre-nominated day of Pesach. But it was not given as yet. It is a night of keepings for the Lord to take them out of the land of Egypt. That is the night unto the Lord. Okay. Now, this is towards the end of the Parsha, but this is basically what I want to talk to you about. So this, we've run through the history of the Parsha a little. Okay. Verse 43 in 12. And the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, Vayomer Adonai el Moshe ve'Aharon zot chuchat ha'pesach. Kol ben nachar lo yechal bo. This is the decree, the chuchat. Now, there are 3 types of instructions that God gives the children of Israel. One is mitzvah, commandments. 2 is mishpat, rulings, depending on situation. And the 3rd is a chochat, chok. So mitzvah is a commandment. You shall do this, you shall not do this, right? A mishpat is a ruling, where you come and you want to interpret biblical law and you say, okay, I'm in a problem, please help me. And then you use the Torah and the wisdom of the Torah to interpret God's will, and you give a ruling, you give a mishpat, okay, and you will abide by it. This is where the entire judicial system of Israel was built upon, on the interpretation of the Torah, because this is what Moses was doing when Yitro came and said, Moses, what are you doing? You want to kill yourself. From morning to night, you're sitting and judging these people, because all of them had a problem. Someone always had a problem in the camp, right? We always have problems in life. This is a problem, that is a problem, this father, this mother, this husband, this wife, this daughter, this son, we always have problems. Moses, please help me. So that's mishpat. It's given into the hands of the elders and the seniors to interpret divine will and mishpat and give rulings for them. The third is kokhat. Kokhat is just do it. Don't ask questions. Couple of certain things in the entire Torah where God says, you will do it. Don't ask questions. That's chok. These kokhat are established forever. And only God knows the wisdom of it. Kokhat of Pesach, kokhat of the red heifer, right? Para aduma, okay? So many, couple of other things in the Torah. It doesn't make sense. God says, just do it. That's kok. That's kokhat. He says, Zot ha-kokhat. This is the kokhat of Pesach. So Pesach is not a mitzvot. It's a kok. Just do it. Okay. Zot ha-kokhat ha-Pesach kol ben nachar lo yochal bo. No, a resident, any nachar, any stranger may not eat from it. Every slave of a man who was bought for money, you will circumcise him, then he may eat of it. A resident, a hired worker may not eat of it. Now make a note of this. God is saying, nobody will partake of the Pesach just because it's God's providence and giving for free. One has to be circumcised to partake of the Pesach offering, but there is a qualification for that. What is it? That anybody who's not circumcised will not partake of it. Every slave of a man who was bought for money, you will circumcise him, then he may eat of it. So in other words, let me explain this to you. You hire a servant, he's working in your house, he becomes part of your family, he's cooking in your kitchen, he's cleaning your house, he's running the fields, he's looking after your animals. You develop a bond with him. He develops a bond with the family. And that person now becomes one with the family. And in due course of time, he said, these are my people. So when he is helping you to cook your kosher meals in your house, he's honoring the God of Israel in any case. He's an asset to your family. He's honoring God. Even if you have a maid who comes to your house, she's honoring God. She's not only working for you, but she's working for God because you are doing God's work, God's ministry. But that person now has to literally convert and say, okay, I am in my heart, I'm saying I've joined myself to the children of Israel and I've joined myself to the God of Israel. That level of circumcision of the heart is step one. That needs to happen. Once that happens, then that person is allowed to keep the mitzvot, keep the commandments, be Jewish in many ways and follow the things. Then only that person is allowed to partake of the Pesach offering. He's allowed to take of the grace that God gave that night to partake of it. Okay, so in other words, he has to join himself to Abraham in the covenant that God made Abraham through Brit Milah to circumcision, and then come into this. It's amazing. We always say Father Abraham, right? Because it is Father Abraham who was the progenitor of all things of the Bible. The book of Hebrews talks about Abraham, Avinu, about faith. He was a man of faith. but he also had the covenant of circumcision. But Rav Shaul says now, he gets to the root of the matter. He says, before Abraham was circumcised, he lived in faith. So you and me, being Gentiles, we are approaching everything through faith. But there will come a time in our life that the circumcision of the heart is going to be very important. Because if you really want to go to the path of Abraham, his faith, he lived for 99 years, and 99th year, he was circumcised. Now, the physical circumcision is only a mark of identification that, yes, I am a Hebrew. Paul is saying in the Rav Shaul, he says, don't look at the physicality of it. Because the Jew can be physically circumcised and do the things of the world and of non-Jewish nonsense. So his physical circumcision will be of no use. Whereas you and me, who are joining ourselves to that covenant, okay, and doing the things of God, our circumcision, our uncircumcision, although we're not physically circumcised, elevates us to a level of circumcision where a Jew is supposed to be at. So everything balances out at the end of the day. A circumcised person doing impurities has lost his circumcision because the physicality makes no sense. Whereas the uncircumcised person who's doing the things of the covenant, his uncircumcision becomes like a circumcision, said God, and is separate of God. So Paul says, cut the crap, get down. What is required is doing the commandments of God. That is most important. So, every slave of a man who is brought for money, you will circumcise him, then he may eat of it. So the Torah is telling us the person has to go through this process and has to come up and do the commandments of God. Be it simple as that. A resident and a hired worker may not eat of it. And this is the kicker now. This is the rider. In one house it shall be eaten. It does not say synagogue. It does not say church. It does not say gathering. It does not say courthouse. Nothing. It does not say open field. It says, in one house it shall be eaten. It all starts in the house. Pesach is held in the house. It's not held in the synagogue. Okay, now commemoration, because we have to go for tefillah, we go for prayers, we go to the synagogue and pray on Pesach. Christians go to the church to pray for their Good Friday or whatever they want to do. But the truth is, Torah says, in one house shall be eaten. You shall not remove any of the meat from the house to the outside. You will not take that meat and take it out, because Pesach is the highest level of providence that God has given for us to remove the tumah, impurities of our soul, that we can now journey from the 49th level of impurities and do an aliyah and climb spiritually till we reach this place of Har Sinai and God, and we can experience God. It's a journey. You will not remove anything from the house to the outside. You shall not eat and not break a bone in it. Not a eczem shall be broken. When Yochanan was standing at the crucifixion and he was looking at Yeshua, who gave up his spirit, who expired, and then the soldiers came to break their legs, and he seen that Yeshua was already dead. And then he says, not even a bone was broken in that. So this allegories the provision of redemption, the provision of grace that the Father has given is what Yochanan is looking at. And you and me have to look at it the same way. It's pure grace and provision for all those who come to him. Now it's open. Okay. First to the Jew, and then to the Greek, Rav Shaul says. It's open because that provision was God-given. Very important. And if you and me come to him, he has the power of the Pesach offering to absorb the impurities to kindness and grace. No qualification for that. No qualification. This is the right way to look at things, my friends. I'm giving you the right way to look at what Yeshua has done on the cross. And if you want to call it a Passover, if you want to call it a Pesach, if you want whatever you want to call it, your understanding of it has to be in the right context. Very, very important. Let's go ahead. The entire assembly of Israel shall make it. When a proselyte sojourns among you, and you will make a Pesach offering for the Lord, each of his males shall be circumcised, and then he may eat of it. Who's a proselyte? Someone who's gone through the conversion process. Then he will draw near to perform it, and he shall be like a native of the land. And any uncircumcised male shall not eat of it. The Torah is reiterating the same thing over again. Now, this is what has been misinterpreted all over. V'chai yagur itecha ger, ve'asa pesach la'Adonai hamol lochol zachar, ve'az yikharib le'asut, ve'haya ka'azrach haaretz, ve'chol aral lo yochal bo. The aral, the foreskin, lo yochal bo. If the foreskin is still there, he shall not partake of it. Torah achat yihaye la'azrach ve'lager hagar betokachem. One law for the native, the lazrak for the land, for the Jewish person, and the one who is a ger, who is converted, and one who lives amongst you. It's the same law for both. So today, if you and me have come into this covenant through Yeshua and have attached ourselves to the God of Israel, the God of the Bible, because there's no other God, God who made a covenant with the fathers and the forefathers, and God who provided salvation in the New Testament, is one God. And if you come to Him, one people, and the Torah applies to them and to us. Simple as that. There's no two ways about it. Yes, we come from the nations. We don't have a full understanding of the Torah. So at that point of time, 2000 years ago, Yaakov, which is James, who was the head of the Kehillah in Jerusalem, and Paul and Peter and Petros and all these guys, they got together and said, we have a problem. People are coming into the faith by thousands. Who has the time and the energy to teach them the Torah? Nobody has the time and the energy. First of all, they have the aral, they have the foreskin on their heart and on their mind. They're only convicted, they're believing now, they're coming in through faith. Let them come, go easy on them. It's not going to be easy. If we were given the Torah, being the natural born branches, and we were not able to do it, let's not put a burden on them. Let's be kind to the Gentiles who are coming in. But that does not mean that we remain there. At some point of time, we have to start journeying from there. Like Abraham. You came into faith, and then you come, then you see. But Yeshua is going to do that for you. How's he going to do that for you? Because once he puts his seal on you, this son, this daughter is kosher. That's it. The seal of the Mashiach, seal of the Hashgiach. That's done. Finished. But it's a journey, my friends. Don't ever say I have reached there. Don't just ever say that I started 20 years ago, and I'm saying this confidently. When I look around, me, you, everybody, different kehillas, different congregations that I go to, and I look around, it's in a sordid state. No one is in this process. No one is in this journey. None. To wake them up, It's a problem because they all come by faith, but the aral, the uncircumcised skin, it's still there. And that's very troubling for me, my friends. Very, very troubling. Because if you have the understanding what I am at, the level that I am at, and I'm seeing around me, you will shudder in your pants. You will shudder to think the state of things. Because I interact with people, I know exactly what's happening in their lives. I know exactly the impurities. 15, 20 years I've been, praised the Lord, all my life. But when you talk on a personal level, oof, I want you all to self-assess yourselves. Very, very important. Okay. Chapter 13. Vaydaber Adonai el Moshe lemor. And the Lord spoke to Moshe, saying, Kadesh li chol bechor peter kol rechem. Sanctify to me every firstborn, the first of each womb among the children of Israel, of man and beast is mine. Kadesh li, sanctify to me, the whole bechor, every first. From where you get the bechorim, the first fruits. Every child that opens, male child that opens the womb. Peter kol rechem. You know where we find this in the New Testament? If you all have the New Testament, please open with me to the Gospel of Luke, and we're going to read from chapter 2, and we're going to read something really fabulous over here. Based on this, Chapter 2, verse 22 onwards, it reads, Vayi malehu yeme tahara lefi Torat Moshe. And in the fullness of the days of purification of tahara, lefi, according to the mouth of the Torah of Moshe, Vayaluhu li Yerushalayim leha amida lifne Adonai. And when the days of her purification is talking about Miriam, according to the law of Moses, were fulfilled, in fullness, accomplished, they brought him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord. Very important. Okay. Now I'm going through a process with you all for you to understand what this present him to the Lord is. As it is written in the law of the Lord, every male that openeth the womb shall be called holy to the Lord. Verse 23. Kasher katuv betorah Adonai kol zakar peter rechem vaikra kodesh la Adonai. I mean, New Testament, English, KJV, translated into the Hebrew also at the same time. And this is where I've derived the same word which is used in the Old Testament. Read from the Shemot. It says, Kadesh li bechol bechor peter kol rachem. And here it says, Kasher katuv betorah Adonai kol zachar peter rechem. Every firstborn, rechem, the word rechem is womb in Hebrew, but it also has another meaning. It has the meaning of mercy. Rechem is mercy in Hebrew, and it is also womb. The womb is a place of mercy. Why? Oh, that's a good study on its own, friends. For a woman to have her gestation period, to be carrying a child, is an act of mercy of the Almighty Father. These days, 272 days of mercy in our life. Period. That's it. Every moment is mercy. So it's called Rechem. It's called mercy. The womb is called mercy in Hebrew. And then see what it says. It says, and to offer a sacrifice according to that which was said in the Torah of the Lord, a pair of turtle doves or 2 young pigeons. And behold, it says, there was a man in Jerusalem whose name was Shimon, and the same man was just and devout, righteous and devout. Okay, let's read this in 25. It says, Vehige ish haya be Yerushalayim ushmo Shimeon vehu ish tzaddik be hakasid. He's a person who practiced righteousness and the laws of Kasidut, Kesed. He understood the centrality. Do you all know what the centrality of the New Testament is? Is Kasidut, practicing kindness. You'll be amazed. Your guy should study New Testament with me, I'm telling you. It's never ever never reached that level of understanding New Testament. The centrality of the New Testament is the way of Kasid, of Kasidut, kindness. Please study with me. Please, I tell everybody, please come. This man, Shimon, was a tzaddik, he was a righteous man, and he was a Kasid. Okay, let's read. And it was revealed unto him by the Holy Spirit. What? Oh, but you know what? The Holy Spirit was not given as yet. The Holy Spirit had not come as yet. Because Yeshua was not crucified and the day of Pentecost had not happened. The day of Shavuot had not happened. Really? So where was the Holy Spirit before that? Where was he? Blessed be he. Blessed be his name. Where was he? In heaven? Waiting for that time to come? Friends, he's always been here. He only attached himself to those who were open. But when Yeshua came and he opened the floodgates for people to come in, then he had the opportunity to attach himself to everyone who came. And then, even the Holy Spirit was waiting because no one was wanting him. And no one was tahara. No one was in the level of at least a certain amount of purity, tahara, and chasidut, and tzadiki, and righteous, so that he could come and dwell with them. Okay. And it was revealed by him, by the Holy Spirit, that he should not see death before he had seen the Lord, the Lord's Christ, the Lord's anointed one. And he came by the Spirit into the temple when the parents brought the child Yeshua to do for him after the custom of the law. So he was an important man. And by the way, Shimon would probably have been either a Kohen at that point of time, or a Kohen Gadol, high priest, or whoever he is, because he was performing a ritual called Pidyon HaBen, redemption of the firstborn, with Yeshua. If you don't know this, because it's embedded in the Torah portion, I'm opening it up and explaining to you. So typically, after the days of purification of the mother, not the child that's born is a pure in all ways. But the mother expelling something out of her system, male child, 40 days impure, female child, 60 days impure. And then once those days are over, she would do a mikvah, she would do a ritual bath, and the father would do a ritual bath, okay? And then they would come to the temple and they will offer sacrifices as sin offerings. Why sin offerings? This is where we don't get all this, And I'm not talking in the case of Yeshua, I'm talking in the case of normal people, you and me, right? We all get married at some point of time and bring forth children. But the circumstances of bringing forth children, it's not You get what I'm saying, right? There has to be lust. God knows what all we do in our minds when we go to bring children forth into this world, right? What all we do. So in that act, to cleanse that act, to cleanse the impurity of that act, you're bringing forth a child, that's a different thing. To cleanse that act, you have to come to the temple and cleanse that entire event that is happening in your life. But the child that's born is very impure. I've done a teaching about this some time ago. Please see the videos on YouTube. You will come across this. And the parents will come, they will present the offerings of their impurity after doing the mikhwa. They will come, they will do sacrifice, they will become ritually pure, tahara, and then they will bring the child and they will offer it up and they'll come to the Kohen. The Kohen will take the child in their hand, okay, and then he will say, is this the firstborn son? They will say yes. And the Kohen will ask them, this is all part of the ritual that I'm telling you. Kohen will ask them, the firstborn, Peter Rechem, that opens the womb, belongs to the Lord. Do you want to dedicate this child to the Lord or you want to redeem him for yourself? The parents have a choice here. So most of the parents say, I want my son for myself. Who's going to look after my business? No, I want him myself. I don't want to give him to the Lord. But the child by default belongs to the Lord. So what does the high priest do? He says you have to redeem him with silver. And they give the high priest silver for the soul of that firstborn, and they take the firstborn and they say, this son now belongs to me, doesn't belong to the Lord. I will teach him in the ways of the Lord. Let him grow up as a righteous person and a chassid, and he will remain with us and he will be a normal human being. If the parents say he's the firstborn from us and we hand him over to the Lord, then the high priest will not take the silver from the parents. He will not perform the Pidyon HaBen. He will lift the child up and he'll bless the Lord and he'll say, Lord, this child is dedicated to you. And the child will be handed back to the parents, but the parents have a role and have a promise to teach the child in the ways of the Lord because he's dedicated to the Lord right from that point of time. So this event in every male child's life, firstborn child, is very, very important. You know, it's been converted into our life, baptism, first holy christening, or what knows what all we do in our congregations. But we lost the essence of everything. Completely lost the essence of everything. I tell you, I don't know what we've done with ourselves. Seriously. Okay. Anyway, let's go ahead. So this is the dedication. And see what happens here now. Now you all know exactly, and it was revealed unto him that by the Holy Spirit that he should not see death before he had seen the Lord's Christ. And he came by the Spirit into the temple, and when the parents brought in the child Yeshua to do for him after the custom of the law. After the custom of the law, what are we talking about? We're talking about the Pidyon HaBen, redemption of firstborn. Then took he up into his arms and blessed God and said, oh, I love this portion. Each time I read this verse, my heart, I just like tears fall into my eyes. It says, Lord, now let thy servant depart in peace according to thy word. Now I'm willing to leave this world, Lord, because you have, according to your word, for my eyes have seen thy salvation. What a beautiful thing this is. What an amazing thing. For which thou hast prepared for the face of all people. Prepared before the face of all people. And listen to this. A light to just lighten the Gentiles. To give them light, give them a hope, give them acceptable end, give them salvation, bring them back to the ways of cleanliness and knowledge of the one God, for them to praise God and to live a holy life And God is going to be okay with that. He does not need you to be absolutely special or great. He just needs you to trust him, walk in his ways, be a light. That's it, for a light to lighten the Gentiles. But he is going to be the glory of his people, Israel. Oh, wow. Wow. It's beautiful. Does it say that they redeemed him and said, no, this child Yeshua is mine, and gave the coin money? No. He said, firstborn. So he takes him, he blesses God, and he does the Pidyon HaBen. Okay. And then he prophesies what Yeshua is going to be. Now let's get back to the Parashat and let's read the Parashat. וידבר אדוני אל משה לאמור, קדש לי כל בכור פטר כל רחם. Every zachor, every male bechor that opens the womb, bebnei Israel be'adam ubehema lihu. ויאמר משה אל העם זכור את היום הזה, אשר יצאתם ממצרים מבית עבדים בחזק יד הוציא. Okay. Remember this day, okay? Let's go towards the end. Okay. Yeah. And right at the end of the Parasha, it says, and it shall be when the Lord will bring you into the land of Canaan, as he swore to you and your forefathers, and he will give to you, then you shall set aside apart any that first emerges from the womb for the Lord, and of each first calving of the livestock that belong to you, the males are the Lord's, and each first of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb kid. Do you know the only animal in the Torah, in the Bible, that needs to be redeemed with the blood of the lamb is a donkey, besides a human being? No other animal. The humble donkey, God says you have to redeem it. Amazing. You know, one day we'll talk about the donkey. Today is not the day to talk about the donkey. Okay. And each first of a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb, the kid. If you do not redeem it, you shall break its neck. And each firstborn person among your sons and you shall redeem. And it shall be when your son will ask you tomorrow, what is this? You shall say to him, with a strong hand the Lord removed us from Egypt in the house of bondage. And when it happened that Pharaoh stubbornly refused to send us out, that the Lord killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of man to the firstborn of the beast. Why were they able to come out of Egypt that night? The firstborn of Israel walked out because the firstborn of Egypt was slaughtered. Because of this, there is another ritual that is kept in Israel even till today, although it's transmuted into a fast. Every year, on the 14th of Nisan, the day before Pesach, all the male the first child of the family fast is called Ta'anit HaBechori, fast of the firstborn. It's done even till today, although it's done very minusculely, but most of them it's transmuted into a prayer service, and it's transmuted into a charity, it's transmuted into something else in modern day Jewry. But the 13th to the 14th, or basically the 14th evening, which is the 13th evening, the 14th till the Passover night, that day was an important day for the firstborn of every family in the Jewish household, because he had to fast in commemoration that he is free, being the firstborn, because the firstborn of Egypt was slain that night by the Mashkit. So he commemorates that fast with a Ta'anit Bechorim, fast of the firstborn. And at the end of that fast, he breaks that fast with the Shiur. He breaks that fast with a meal. I don't know where I'm getting at. Okay, so he breaks that fast with a meal. Okay, and then the next day he prepares for the Pesach. So I want to leave you all thinking, because when we come to Pesach, I'm going to talk about this, not today, friends. Okay, and it happened when Paro stubbornly refused to send us out, that the Lord killed all the firstborn of the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of the man to the firstborn of the beast. Therefore, I offer to the Lord each male first of the womb, and I shall redeem at the firstborn of my sons. Now, the word here is Peterechem Hazichron Vechol Chavod B'nei Efedah. Efedah is redeem. From where we get the word Pidyon HaBen in the plural, the redemption of the firstborn. And this is held every year among the Jewish people. Most of them transmuted to a charity event, okay, in commemoration that they are alive because someone else died. It's called Tanit Bekorim. And then the 14th, Pesach is slain. 15th in the evening, which is the beginning of the 15th day, the Pesach meal is had. Now the question is, did Yeshua, when he sat with his disciples, did he have the Pesach meal, or did he have the breaking of the fast of the Pidyon HaBen or the Tanit Bekorim? That is something we need to understand. Which of the two was Yeshua actually doing with the disciples that night? Okay, so I just want to end with this, friends. I hope we have learned something. I hope we have brought ourselves to some kind of understanding of how you learn the New Testament based on the Torah. The New Testament cannot stand without the Torah. It has no standing. It has no validity at all if it's not brought in the light of the Torah. This is what we do at the Yeshua all the time, right? We bring a more comprehensive, a more fuller understanding of the New Testament. Now, Yeshua himself was born a Jewish child. He was dedicated by Shimon, right? In the Pidyon HaBen. He was circumcised on the 8th day. He lived the Jewish life. He kept the Shabbat. He didn't break it. He kept the Shabbat. He done all things Jewish. He kept the Torah of Moses. He had to. He was under the Torah of Moses as long as he was alive on this earth. And in fact, he kept it so well that he perfected it, because of which his father honored him and gave him a name above all names. That was the only way Yeshua could have perfected the Torah and opened the way for you and me. First to the Jew, then to us who are joined and friends with him. I hope you all have the eyes and the understanding to grasp all these things. It's very, very important. Otherwise, we're going to be lost playing this thing called church. Everyone's playing a game called church. We need to rise above it. We need to make some meaning out of our churches. So what are we doing there exactly? What do we understand? What do we know? Or we just, playing this game church. In the end, is going to be, we're going to question ourselves, friends. Let's improve ourselves. Let's grow in the wisdom and knowledge of God. Let's grow in the fullness of Christ. And that's been the endeavor of the Yeshua. God bless each one of you all till we meet next weekend. Shabbat Shalom. Okay. I'll stop the recording now.